That's about a woman in midlife and losing everything. Um, and things are taken away from her one by one by one in the course of the very sort of short time novel. Um, Her mother dies, she loses, I won't go into it, but I was feeling that in my own life, and, I wanted to write about it again. It's like, what's going on in my life and what I see going on in the world around me, because that's what a novel is for. It's called a novel. It's n the what's new. Um, so for me, it was about, losing my editor, being in lockdown and COVID, the Trump presidency, the first one. I can't believe I'm saying that. And, just a lot of sort of existential questions, that you face as a woman after menopause, and the reality of it that I hadn't seen written about a lot. I think it's being written about more and more, because more and more Gen X women are hitting menopause and being like, "You know what? I gotta write about this because this is deep. This is like an existential sort of experience that needs." So that's that book, and I felt like the ending of that book, to me, is the happiest ending I've ever written. Um, and again, I won't give it away, but to me, it's like moving from despair and loss toward adaptation, which is the answer. You adapt. This is a series. I'm writing the second one now. I've wanted to write a detective series since I was like 18, and I've read thousands. I mean, I don't know how many, countless, countless detective series. Like, I'm addicted to them. They're my greatest pleasure with food writing, and memoirs. I also love memoirs, but, aside from mainstream sort of, literary novels, the detective novels, again, the imitative urge. Like, I had to wait until now, for some reason, until COVID lockdown, when I was struggling with a draft of Welcome Home Stranger, and it wasn't working, and so I turned to a detective novel to, again, cheer myself up, and it did, it worked, and I wrote the Arizona Triangle in a kind of burst of I'm from Arizona, and I'd been spending a lot of time in Tucson because my mother was having health emergencies, and so I would go there and take care of her, and while I was there, it was sort of like where, I grew up in Arizona, I was back, and I felt this sort of I have an Arizona accent. It's sort of like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I need to write about Arizona," and, I wanna set a murder in these hills outside of Tucson, these foothills of Mount Lemmon. God, it's like outlaw shacks and, like, cactuses, and everything wants to kill you in the desert, and, like, yes, murder mystery. So that's where that came from, and my detective is Jo Balin, and she's one of 3 women in an all-female agency in Tucson, and it's the hard-boiled genre, which, is Sue Grafton, which goes back to Raymond Chandler, which, also Sarah Gran, who's a California crime writer who I utterly adore. I think she is the greatest. And she actually blurbed the Arizona Triangle, which, when you get a blurb from a writer you truly admire and do not personally know, it's like Christmas. Thank you, Sarah, if you're listening to this. So I felt like I was writing in this vein, stepping into this river that I knew really well, with a raft and sort of navigating my own way down it with them at my back. I just have read so many detective novels, but you know what? I think my fascination with detectives has to do with this relationship between a detective and a novelist, and I think our work is really similar. In a detective novel, there's a detective, at least one victim, and at least one murderer, right? So you have this that's the triangle. Really, that's the real Arizona Triangle, is like, that classic sort of tripod of a detective. And you trust as you're reading the detective novel that it's gonna be solved and there will be order restored to the world at the end. And I think that's why we love them so much, because murder is a terrible thing, but catching the murderer is like a puzzle. It's like, your brain gets all sort of like, oh, clues, and it's like a psychological puzzle, which for a novelist is like catnip. It's like Doritos. It's like, French fries. And so writing in from the perspective of a detective, I was building this mystery, building the clues around knowing who had done it already, like knowing. And so a lot of it is just like, having the detective go and talk to people, having the detective observe people, which is what a novelist does, and have this propulsive energy of inquiry and curiosity and eavesdropping and, getting information from people and watching for tells, and, that's what I do. As a novelist, I'm always watching people and always, gathering information, and always it's not solving a mystery, but it's getting ammo to, like, shoot off my next book, and so I feel like there's and writing the second one now, I'm feeling this. It's called Saguaro City, and I'm feeling the same pleasure of, "Oh, yeah, I'm back in Joe's brain." Because I'm writing a series, I wanted, to introduce you to Jo and her past, and so that was the felt to me like an elegant way to do it. Her childhood best friend is missing, and her high school boyfriend, is the cop assigned to the case, and so here we have, like, Jo's past, and she has to go back to the place where she grew up to solve it. So she's immersed in her past, she's facing all the demons of her past while she's solving the mystery, and so now as I'm writing book 2, I'm like, "Okay, now you know who she is. You know where she comes from, you know who her girlfriend is," because she's kind of the girl from high school that had a crush on her that she gets together with in book 1, and so it seemed like a way to launch a detective, with an eye toward writing. I'm envisioning it as a 7-book series, so we'll see. I hope. I really hope I have the juice to, but I'm feeling like it's the most fun thing I've done in a while. I actually have another book coming out this fall, on October 7th, and it's a YA novel with Hyperion, and it's called The Sacred and the Divine. I wrote it with a writer named Melissa Henderson. It's a joint project, and we're hoping it's the first of a trilogy, and it's about 3 sisters in Massachusetts in 1848 who are clairvoyant and who read tarot. So it's a book about tarot, about which I knew nothing when we started, but now I know some things. I know enough to, like, do a tarot reading and a lot of the history of tarot, and again, research. You learn a lot by writing a book. So yeah, that book's coming out, and it's another departure, and it's another sort of adventure and genre, that I never thought I would undertake, but it came my way, and we did it, and, I learned also that collaborating on a book is really fun. It's stressful, it's hard, you have to, like, navigate each other's differences, and, but if you get the right person, it is a blast. It's really fun. So, yeah, I'm proud of it, and I'm excited. We're just getting the advanced readers copies now in our hot little hands.